Hello and welcome into the inaugural edition, the first edition of the Liberty Ballers Hoops Hangout. I'm Jake Fischer, contributing writer to LibertyBallers.com, along with Jake Pavorsky and Roy Burton. I don't know what your guys' titles are.
Neither do we.
Welcome to the Google Hangout. We're going to be breaking down some Sixers news, which really just highlights Michael Carter-Williams in the All-Star Saturday night and the Rising Stars Challenge. We're going to preview everyone's favorite day of the year, the NBA trade deadline, coming up this Thursday. First, let's recap MCW's performance in the Skills Challenge and the Rising Stars Challenge. On my computer, we have Jake on the left and Roy on the right, so we'll just go that way.
All right.
First, Jake, what do you make of the Sixers rookie performing on the NBA's biggest stage for the weekend?
It looked pretty good last night. Did a decent job getting through the drills. Jump shot looked a little flat. Gotta work on that. Get that back coming into the season Tuesday. It was ugly to begin with, but he did his job. It was Oladipo blew it for him. That double clutch dunk there. That's what made them lose by that 1/10 of a second.
Yeah.
Can't get flashy there, but MCW did a good job.
Roy, what you got?
Well, at least he wasn't Reggie Jackson, who kind of took a laissez-faire approach to the All-Star weekend. But it's an All-Star weekend. I mean, I'm not going to read too much into it. It was fun. He had fun. And as long as he's going down and eating good down in New Orleans, that's what it's all about, really.
Yeah. I will say, you're talking about Reggie Jackson being laissez-faire. I was bummed by MCW's lazy pass to.
That was kind of lazy. I wanted some alley-oops in that thing.
Yeah.
They could have made that more entertaining.
DeRozan came around the corner and fired that ball to Giannis. I was hoping for some fireworks from MCW and Oladipo, but I guess not. And then obviously he played well in the Rising Stars Challenge too. I think he had 17, 9, and 5, which was his final line. He wasn't one of the top guys voted for MVP because Hardaway Jr., Dion Waiters, and Andre Drummond stole the show.
Right.
And Waiters and Hardaway Jr. went at it for about 10 minutes there, just shooting threes.
That's probably the best part of the entire weekend so far. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I enjoy when guys kind of go at each other because again, there's very little defense ever played in these competitions. So when two guys kind of go at it for a little bit, that's a highlight for me.
Yeah, I was doing that in the gym yesterday playing pickup, but no one was watching, so it didn't really matter.
Did you make them all? Were you making them all?
I told Michael Bauman a few weeks ago on Twitter, I'm like a 60% three-point shooter with no one guarding me.
60%?
Yeah. I got recruited D3. We're ready to go.
I gotta see what happens when you guys go out to Vegas this summer.
Yeah, we'll be. That's nothing. Well, let's jump into that right now. We're going to be in Vegas in Summer League. Real quick, you guys excited?
I mean, I'm not as excited because I'm sure as hell probably not going to Vegas. I probably would not be able to enjoy that as much. But town's better there. It should be more fun than Orlando usually is.
Yeah, Orlando's terrible. Nothing for nothing. I mean, I've never been, but just the quality of basketball just doesn't seem that good. I mean, you have 24 teams they're saying are going to make the trip out to Vegas this year, so it's got to be better. And quite frankly, you're not out there for the basketball. I mean, you're out there to kind of network and have a good time, and it's Vegas, and it's impossible to have a bad time in Vegas. Basketball is probably the 5th or 6th thing you'll wind up doing on your list when you go out to Vegas. So it'll be a great time though.
Yeah. So Roy, last week you wrote a piece on the Mount Rushmore of Sixers history.
Yes.
Going off of the whole LeBron NBA TV interview that airs Monday night, which will be tonight when most people see this on Monday, because we're doing this now Sunday afternoon on NBA TV with Steve Smith. Number one, I don't know why if you have the best player in the world, you're going to use Steve Smith to interview NBA TV and NBA.com as all these awesome journalists, but. Roy, you picked 4 Sixers to be on your Mount Rushmore. Just give a quick recap of who you picked and why.
I ran it down, and I thought it was pretty simple, and I guess I'll ask you guys, what your thoughts on it were. But I had Wilt Chamberlain, Charles Barkley, Allen Iverson, and Julius Erving. I mean, to me, those were the 4 most iconic Philadelphia 76ers. I don't think you can really argue Wilt and Irving because those were the alpha dogs and the 2 teams that won titles.
Yeah.
You can argue a little bit. I mean, I understand the arguments for wanting to put Moses Malone or Hal Greer on the list, but I think you go most iconic and quote unquote greatest Sixers of all time. I think it's really hard to beat 2 guys like Allen Iverson and Charles Barkley, given what they've meant to this team and this franchise. Yeah. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree on that, but those were my thoughts.
Well, with Moses for me, even though he helped win a title, he only was here really for 4 years. And all those guys you mentioned really spent the majority of their career, if not all of it, in Philly. So, or I think no, they all didn't spend their whole career in Philly. But I think longevity definitely has to play into the greatest players in franchise history.
Right.
Jake, you got anything to add?
No on that list though.
I was arguing for Pepe Sanchez. I had an internal argument with Pepe Sanchez on that list. He didn't quite make the cut. He fell a little bit short of Andrew Lang on the final cut of the guys who made it. But yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of guys. I mean, this team's been around for forever, so there's plenty of guys that you can kind of point to. Going back to Dolph Shays and guys like that you can point to. They have a valid argument for the list. But I think that the four that were listed in the post, I think those four are, I don't want to say far and away, but I think those are clear-cut guys for the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, the third most playoff wins in NBA history.
Exactly.
Gladly tell you. And then moving forward with stuff on the site last week, I read a piece Zach Lowe put about NBA defenses on Grantland, and he was talking about how the Trailblazers, one reason why some people are skeptical about them in the playoffs is because they don't force any turnovers on defense. And I thought, oh, well, the Sixers beat them, and they have a lot of turnovers per game. Maybe that's a trend. So I got a legal pad out, and I wrote out the 12 teams that the Sixers have beat since the first 3-0 start. And 11 out of 12 teams they beat, I found out, rank in the bottom half of the NBA in forcing turnovers per game going into the All-Star break. And it didn't really get a lot of traction on the site, but I thought that was an interesting tidbit to try to not explain why they've won, because when we were watching those two blowout games against the Clippers and the Warriors, I literally thought to myself, I don't know how this team has won a game in the NBA. But when you think about that trend, it kind of makes sense. The Sixers are the worst team in the league, or the best team in the league when it comes to turning the ball over. So when they play against teams who are the worst at doing so, they have the opportunity to free up their players. Michael Carter-Williams has the chance to get those high assist performances, and that's when you see Evan Turner put up his high score numbers and hit game-winning fadeaway jumpers like that. Jake, when you saw that story, what was your immediate reaction?
I think that was about right. I mean, there are games when the Sixers can force turnovers all on their own, where they look sloppy and not necessarily defense have to be causing them. They can just have ugly games on their own. That's definitely accurate. I mean, it's an obvious trend that's going on this year with the Sixers, and it's something that's going to have to continue if they want to keep winning. But obviously, we don't want them to continue to win, so they're going to have to. They're going to have
says
to.
You.
Yeah, says me.
Yeah. Well, a way that can happen is if Thursday they trade Spencer Hawes or Evan Turner, or even Thaddeus Young or someone else. They could trade someone else as part of a package. Who knows? And you're leaving Michael Carter-Williams with even less options to pass the ball to.
Right.
And the trade deadline is just a few days away now. But Jake, there isn't going to be a trade before this game on Tuesday, right?
I would say no. I mean, I'm sure Hinkie's working the phones right now trying to gauge some offers, but does anything get done before Tuesday? I say no. I think it comes right up until Thursday.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw the little video podcast or whatnot that Bill Simmons did on Friday, but it was one of the players, I think it was John Wall, that talked about how All-Star Weekend is a huge networking opportunity for the players and teams, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hinkie was in New Orleans right now talking to some people, kind of dropping little hints and pieces there where his
a big stack of business cards.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. I was watching for whatever reason, I was one of the 17 people watching the NBA DL All-Star game, and I saw Daryl Morey sitting in the crowd, just kind of hanging out, notepad, just kind of hanging out, chilling. So I'm sure just about every general manager, and scout or whoever is down there, kind of scouting talent, having hurricanes and talking up some deals. So yeah, I doubt anything happens before. I don't know. Is there a moratorium before Tuesday or no? I'm not sure if there is or not.
I don't think so. I think
trades.
Yeah, I think it's just up until what's it 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday night or Thursday night. Is that
3 o'clock on Thursday?
3 o'clock on Thursday.
Yeah, 3 o'clock on Thursday.
I think just from now until then, it's a free for all to make a deal, and then after that, you're cut off.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a couple teams down there. I'm hoping there's a couple teams down there that are kind of talking trade. And like like the other Jake said, I don't think we'll see anything until 12:30, 1 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. It just everybody's waiting for the 11th hour to try to get the best deal they can. So it probably for a lot of teams it probably doesn't make sense to make a deal now because again you probably won't get as much as you can if you wait a couple days.
Yeah. Well, before we talk about predictions and stuff like that, I just want to say, because I don't know about you, Roy, but Jake and our Twitter mentions get bombarded with people asking about rumors and this and that. I just want to make a public service announcement that unless you see someone very connected or involved with this team report that a deal is being worked out and they've made progress on a deal, everything else reported is simply a rumor.
Don't yell at our people.
No other
Jake.
weight.
Don't yell at our people.
That's all I want to say. Someone tweeted out, I'm going to pull it up right now, Scott Howard Cooper from NBA.com, Evan Turner not expecting to be traded by Thursday deadline. If Sixers are holding out for a number one, strong senses they won't get it. According to who? Like, come on, guys.
Agent talk.
Yeah, it's a lot of agent talk out there, and yeah, but again, I don't get bombarded with all that stuff because unlike you guys, I kind of just sit at home and write whatever I feel like writing, so that's cool. Like, I don't have sources, so I can't be ripped for reporting stuff when I never report stuff. So it kind of works out better that way,
There you go. I don't know if that was a shot or anything like that.
No, it's not a shot. Look, I am sitting at home not breaking stuff. So, like I'm not going to have a source. Like I can say sources say, but the source is probably, whatever I dreamt last night. Like that's the only source I kind of have. I mean, I can talk to Michael Preston and ask if like Summer League is going to happen in Vegas. That's all I got.
Yeah. Well, speaking of yourself, Roy, hypothetically speaking, both of you guys, Sam Hinkie called you right now and said he had deals on the table that could either send out Evan Turner or Spencer Hawes right now. You don't know what the package gets back in return, but you can either trade one of those two guys, one or the other right now. Who do you keep and who do you send? Roy, we'll start with you.
I have to trade Spencer Hawes for the Barack Obama toilet paper. That's probably the only reason. No, seriously. No, if I had to trade one, oh gosh. And I have no idea what's coming back. I guess this is terrible.
Basically just says which guy you think.
You know what? Well, here's the thing. I think at this point, Evan Turner may be more conducive to winning, so I may be more inclined to trade him because he might hit another game-winning shot or two down the stretch. So if I had to choose between the two, I'd probably move Evan Turner.
All right, Jake.
I actually think it was Hoop76 that put out an article saying that Evan Turner is good for the tank. But either way, I'm probably keeping Hawes here. I mean, you don't know what's coming back. But the funny thing is, the league-wide perception, or at least outside of Philadelphia, is that Evan Turner is like some good facilitator who can score a lot, who's like a good guy you want coming off the bench. I really don't understand that. Like, it's like you hear the interest from like San Antonio, who never is interested in anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, does Evan Turner sound like the kind of guy who fits there? Like, is Popovich calling up his GM and saying, get me Hinkie on the horn? I want Evan Turner as like a bench scorer. Like, I don't see that. But I mean, the league seems to love him. Everyone outside of Philly seems to have him in high regards. So I would hold on to Hawes. Hawes is a decent backup. It's hard having him start because it's not his job. You can't expect him down there banging for boards and stuff. But as a guy who can come off the bench and score and shoot the ball a little bit, I mean, if you had to keep someone, I think he's worth holding on to.
Yeah, if it says anything, I would trade Turner too. But in fairness to Evan, with the perspective across the league, I felt the same way about Lou Williams before he left. I thought he really only brought one thing to the table, and that was one-on-one scoring at the end of quarters. And of course he goes. Of course, he goes out on free agency, and I think he had like 7 teams interested in him. So maybe it's just our perceptions of these guys end up becoming diminished because we're so overexposed to their just like you see Marcus Smart go back to college and he gets overanalyzed. Right. Maybe the fact that we're constantly seeing we overanalyze our negatives too. But,
let me leave a disclaimer though. Liberty Ballers does not condone the toilet paper from Spencer Hawes. There's no condoning of the toilet paper.
So should they trade?
Trade everybody.
except for MCW and Noel.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Qualify on that. Trade everybody except for the guys you just got last summer. Thank you.
My question is, should they trade Evan and Spencer Hawes regardless? They're been reports by both myself and other Jake and a couple other people that the Sixers are going to keep Thaddeus Young until the remainder of the season. Which, by the way, if they keep him until the draft and then trade him before the draft, he would miss out on the July 1st deadline by 4 days when the Sixers then have to allocate all of the remaining $5 million in cap space to their team. So he would probably miss out on like $350,000.
Oh, man.
That's cold.
Which would be pretty cold. But with the deadline this week, should the Sixers look to trade Young if there's a deal on the table?
I think they should, and I think they. Well, I don't know if they'll trade Thaddeus Young, but I think what's going to happen. And you talk about the allocation of the rest of the money below the salary floor that the Sixers have to dole out. I think what's going to happen is the Sixers are going to wind up just taking back salary along with the draft pick. Whether they move Turner or Young or Halls or a combination of the three, because again that's just it makes sense, and that's their most valuable asset right now. There's 24 teams over the salary cap, and nobody really wants to pay that luxury tax. And you have a team that has plenty of salary under the cap. You have expiring contracts. It's easy enough to move these. I mean, these guys are talented enough that you can move them. So I think what's going to happen is you're going to probably wind up taking back, again, the name that's thrown out there a lot, the Ben Gordon type of guy who makes a lot of money and a pick in order to kind of alleviate another team's salary burden. And again, you'll get another first-round pick in this upcoming or the 2015 draft, depending on how it plays out.
Jake, what's your mindset?
I don't think there's any need to move Thad. There's no urgency. I mean, they have the guy who's probably would be the top of the market right now in regards to power forwards. I'm sure the asking price is high. I mean, Celtics want a first for Brandon Bass, which is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
But even going forward, like if you can't get the power forward you want in the draft, like if you think Jabari's a 3 or whatever, and Vonleh, who I love from Indiana, doesn't fall to you with the Pelicans pick, I mean, there's no need to necessarily move Thad. I mean, he's 25. He'd fit in perfectly with Noel. He can score from the outside. You'd have a good put Young up top in the high post, and you have Noel in the low post, and it's a good match there between the two of them. So there's no necessity to move him, but at the same time, if you're looking forward and you're trying to acquire assets for 2015, Boston, like I keep talking about Boston has done a great job of acquiring picks. They've got like 2 first-round picks for the next few years going to 2018. And I can see Sam Hinkie trying to do something like that where he's stockpiling assets for the year coming forward, and there's a guy who's going to get you a 2015 first, and probably a high one or an unprotected one would be Thaddeus Young.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, a couple weeks ago, I heard that they were looking to do that, to stockpile 2015 picks. And you mentioned Boston, Jake. If they do somehow make the playoffs with their 4 lottery picks over the last 2 years, MCW, Noel, and whoever they take this year, maybe they even had another lottery pick too after they deal Turner and Hawes, and they make the playoffs. They yield their first-round pick to Boston, which was originally sent to Miami for Arnett Moultrie. Thanks, Doug Collins. And then Miami sent to Boston in the Jordan Crawford deal a couple weeks ago. So getting insurance for the 2015 first round would definitely be something to keep your mind on, as I said before. But no more hypotheticals. Roy, you're first up. What are they doing at the deadline? What's your gut telling you?
My gut tells me somebody gets traded. My gut tells me that somebody is probably going to be Evan Turner. Again, there's enough deals out there that you can move Evan Turner. I'll just throw the Charlotte deal out there. I think something gets done with the Bobcats, probably late Wednesday, early Thursday. I think he gets dealt. I think Halls and Young are probably going to be here after Thursday. I mean, I think they'll try to move those guys, but with the extra year on Young's contract, I think it's probably going to be hardest to move him. And I just don't think you'll get enough value for Spencer Halls that they'll move him by Thursday. So I think Turner's gone. I think Halls and Young are still here.
All right, Jake?
I'm going to say Turner's gone. I think Charlotte seems like a reasonable place. San Antonio could, but I still don't see the fit there.
No.
It's weird. I don't know. I guess there's the connection between Michael Jordan's agent and Turner's agent. They both have David Falk. So I don't know if there's a weird connection, like they want to bring the two guys together, but I could see him ending up in Charlotte, and Ben Gordon's bad enough to the point where you're not hating bringing him back, and
Right.
The Portland pick sounds nice. If you can get another first from anyone, that sounds fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Hawes is gone. I think they trade Hawes. There's definitely a market for a capable backup big man. Zach Lowe, in his full trade deadline article, which was tremendous, mentioned the Clippers wanting a third capable big man. And then that's a team that's over the luxury, so you figure you take back a guy like Dudley, or a Bullock, or you get a first-round pick from them and you send them Hawes, that'd probably be a 3-team deal. A lot of moving pieces there to keep LA under the tax. So I'm going to say Turner's gone. I'm going to say Hawes is gone, and they keep that. But a while back, it wasn't looking like that. It was looking like Thad was the only one who was going for a little while.
Yeah, you mentioned a 3-team deal. That's where my head's at right now. I think what Hinkie will end up doing, I don't have any inside information about this, whatever, but my gut's telling me that the first domino that will fall for them they'll agree to a deal to send Turner to the Bobcats, and they'll get a first-round pick back. Mm-hmm. And then as part of that, they'll use either that pick or another expiring or something that they get from the Bobcats to also include Hawes in a third or fourth team. I think they're going to go together in some 3 or 4 team deal that's going to move a lot of pieces around. It's going to be one of those deals where we first have to sit down and write out exactly who gave up what and who got back what. But at the end of it, you're going to be like, wow, Hinkie got this, and this for Evan Turner and Spencer Hawes. So,
and the important thing about acquiring another first-round pick would be for teams. There's a lot of teams that don't have a 14 first-rounder or a 15 first-rounder, and because of the CBA, you have to have a first-rounder, and you can't trade back-to-back firsts. Right. So it's important, even if you acquire, the Clippers' first-rounder, Charlotte's first-rounder, that is Portland's, that you can trade that and move it so that teams are compliant when it comes to moving their own picks. So that's a huge piece. They're obviously not going to move the Pelicans' pick or their own. Yeah. So to get that third first-rounder and include it in any deal going forward would be humongous.
Yeah. And this last thing I want to say, last week I kind of detailed all the Rockets' pre-deadline moves when Sam Hinkie was there in Houston, and I think it was 5 out of the 7 years they made a deal on the deadline, and I looked up articles about each one, and I think 4 out of those 5 all came down to the last hour. So the deadline, we've been waiting for the deadline for a long time. It is just coming up Thursday, but keep your fingers crossed and stay tuned until the very last second, because I think that's when we're going to see the fireworks happen. Roy, Jake, thanks for joining me today on this season's first edition of the Liberty Ballers Hoops Hangout. Make sure to check out all the latest Sixers news and analysis on LibertyBallers.com, and we'll check back in with you after the deadline and start focusing more on the draft and some other stuff coming ahead. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Stay love, guys.
See you.